It's a good crowd.
Yes, it is. All right. Hello, everybody. Hello. I am Mert, the CEO of Helium, and I'm here with Mike, my fellow haircut brother.
It's true.
And today we're going to talk about a few things, Solana, Galaxy, markets, and everything else. So, Mike, let's start with your big news of the day. Came out a few hours ago. So it seems Galaxy is launching this thing called Sweep, a tokenized liquidity fund, and it's on Solana. So tell me about exactly what Sweep is, how it works, why it's important.
Yeah. So Sweep is State Street's, $5 trillion asset manager version of BlackRock's BUIDL. It's a tokenized money market fund with some key differences. The biggest difference is instantly when you redeem, it gives you PayPal's stablecoin, PUSD. So if you think about what should happen in the world, right? You should have interest-bearing cash. Well, that's, in the US right now, illegal, right? The stablecoin bill is said not happening. But if you have a money market fund that redeems into a stablecoin, it's roughly the same thing. And so I envision a world where people, not necessarily in the United States, but broadly around the world, are carrying, U.S. Treasury money market fund, sweep, and when they want to spend it, they flip it into a stable coin and spend it. And so instead of carrying cash in your wallet that gives you no interest, you're getting paid on everything you own. And that is the trend in crypto.
Yes. And so that's exciting. And today it is only on Solana. And you guys are actually quite, let's say, you're big fans of Solana. You have also tokenized your stock, right? You guys went public.
We were the first tokenized equity that the SEC approved. There's lots of forms of tokenized equities. There are X shares in some different exchanges. But working with the SEC in the US to get a SEC-sanctioned tokenized equity is what we did first. It trades on a thing called Superstate, which quite frankly is a walled garden right now. So it's exciting that we did it. It's not that exciting for liquidity because it's trade by appointment in some ways. What will happen soon, and this is the real exciting, is that the SEC in the US has taken a complete 180-degree turn from the old SEC. The era of Gary Gensler ended. This new administration says, we want everything to move on chain. I was like, excuse me? We want everything to move on chain. And I'm not even sure they knew what they said when they said it, but they're heading that direction. It is a radical, radical departure. It is awesome for this industry. And so we're hoping soon, and we're in discussions all the time. I was actually with Paul Atkins 2 weeks ago, is to get a, what do they call the sandbox exemption to actually try to see, our tokenized stock start to trade on decentralized platforms. And that, I think, will be a radical shift. What's going to happen with tokenization, there's a lot of talk about tokenization right now. There's two pieces to it. There's one piece which is efficiency. Yada, yada, yada. It's very important, right? There's going to be, for collateral management, for settlement, for all these things, you're going to tokenize equities. But the bigger piece, really, is for access. And it's mostly access in the rest of the world. I love coming to this place because I can put a pin in Abu Dhabi and then do a 500-mile circle, and you see what it encompasses, right? There's a tremendous amount of population in South Asia, in Africa, in the Mideast. It's those populations that are going to benefit most from both stable coins and tokenization. You're going to have the young kid in Paraguay who wants to buy some Apple stock or some SpaceX token that never had access to it. And so you're going to see companies like Galaxy hopefully be the banker, the conduit between these brands that you've heard of, big US capitalized companies, big US credit businesses or credit products, tokenize it and have it distributed to the 6 billion, 7 billion people in the rest of the world.
Right. Yes. And
And that's really crypto's best use case. It's unbanking, it's giving financial services to people that didn't have access.
yes, increasing access to financial markets, internet capital markets, and yeah, I agree that Gensler is an abomination to baldness. I would say, okay, so one thing that's interesting here is there's a lot of other chains, and you've been around, you're a pro. You guys are very strong on Solana. You have a massive validator. You're collaborating with Jump and Multicoin on the DAT. You're doing this fund. How are you thinking about the state of different blockchains? You know, everybody's talking about, okay, L1's overvalued. You know, do they have no moat? Is Stripe just going to come in and take everything? How is your mental map on?
So this is a great question. So we're in a really weird, not weird, an interesting transition in crypto, right? For the first chapter, the story broadly was, this is a really important industry. It's going to change everything. Pretty easy narrative. Everyone could repeat it. I could make a choir of it, right? That was the story for the guys that got on stages. Now, but you couldn't really build so much on top of it that was scalable because blockchains weren't fast enough, blockchains weren't trusted enough, they weren't scalable enough, and there was no legislation, there was no regulation, certainly in the United States, that allowed companies to feel comfortable, right? You build something, you build a token that makes sense, and you might end up with a Wells notice, or you're getting, sued, or worse than that, arrested. And so we had this stagnation period where the only thing you could do was tell that story about how important we are. And crypto was mostly used outside of Bitcoin as a store of value and stable coins as an experiment and a token gambling platform, right? So we had big exchanges like Binance and Bybit and Arthur Hayes, originally BitMEX, providing lots of leverage, which gave people a chance to speculate. We're now at the era where crypto has to work, where crypto has to make a difference to normal people's lives. And we have fast enough blockchains, and we have a regulatory environment that is coming in the United States. And I know I sound American-centric because I'm a Yankee. The US is 65% of global market cap in equities, right? You need the US regulatory framework for an industry to really be global. It just has too much power. It might not in the future, but right now it does. And so the good news is it's coming our way. Both Republicans, Democrats, and more importantly, the regulators are all starting to see it the same way. And so we're going to get good crypto legislation, and more important, good crypto regulation. The tough news for the people in this industry is it's time to build shit that people use. And we're starting to see it. And so how is this blockchain war going to work out? So blockchains are valued two ways. Crypto is valued two ways. The most important valuation metric in crypto is community, right? People ask me all the time, how can XRP be the third most valuable crypto? Like, people don't use their chain that often. They have an unbelievably tight community and passionate community, right? All of these change at one level are multi-level marketing schemes. You've got to bring people in the community, you've got to tell the story. And so conferences like this help Solana tells its story. It's hard for new chains to get enough air to tell the story because most chains do the same thing. They provide block space, right? Blockchains are basically giant databases that are decentralized, right? Think about an Excel spreadsheet. We're all selling some version of the Excel spreadsheet with different features. And so I do think community is going to continue to remain important, but to have a narrative that the community believes, you're going to need to see real shit happen. You're going to need to see growth. The value of these chains will not be some fractional discounted value of future cash flows. Right? That's how we used to value everything. It's going to be partly that and a lot of community. And so I think you'll see a few chains continue to thrive. We love Solana because it's so damn fast. Right? It was tailor-built to be the capital markets chain. So why Jump Capital became our partner in the DAT is they are a high-frequency trading shop and one of the best in the world. I did that deal because I wanted to be close to Jump, because I was like, those guys are so good at what they do, of building infrastructure. I want to see what I can wean off of them. And so I think Solana's future is bright. I do. But for it to really be bright, it has to win. It has to be a chain that people build cool, innovative products on. And that's what we're trying to do with tokenizing our stock, with tokenizing a money market fund. We got a couple other things coming down the road. And if more and more people use it, great. Listen, in the long run, most things will be compatible. There will be bridges. We will have this. Think about in the United States, you have a bunch of states. You have the Interstate Highway Commission. The Interstate Highway Commission holds the state, the highways together. You will have blockchains and bridges that hold them together. And so I don't think there'll be one chain or two chains. There'll be a patchwork of chains. But if you want value in your chain, you got to tell the story of the chain, and the story has got to be backed up by shit that matters.
Shit that matters. Excellent. Okay. Well, that was a great answer. Final question is going to be a selfish one from me. So the price keeps going up and then keeps going down and then keeps going up and then I can't quite understand what's happening. And you're obviously an expert in macro. How do you make sense of what's happening in global markets right now?
Yeah. So if you had told people at the beginning of the year that stocks were going to be on their highs, the Fed was going to be cutting, we were about to get a new Fed governor who was going to feel a little bit more like a Turkish central banker than a U.S. central banker, i.e. who's going to maybe do the bidding of the president, you would have never thought that Bitcoin was at 90,000 and Solana was at 140. You would have been much more optimistic. And, crypto prices this year have been painful. So what happened? I think a couple things happened. I'll start with Bitcoin, and I know I'm going to take now an extra minute, and they might run the music and get a hook and pull me off, but damn it, I came all the way from New York for this talk. What happened? First, Bitcoin hit 100,000, and it felt like we won the marathon. For all the people that bought it $1 or $10 or $100 or $1,000 or $6,000, it was a huge victory. And I remember the feeling. We put out a video congratulating the community on that great accomplishment. I actually think that sense of we did it triggered something in a few big owners to say, it's time to take a couple chips off the table. I've literally struggled and survived up and down for 13 years in this damn token. I'm now going to take some chips off the table. And so that became a little bit of a virus, right? Galaxy alone had one client that sold $9 billion of Bitcoin. $9 billion. That's 1/3 of everything that, BlackRock bought this year. And so I do think we're going through a period of old people selling some of their crypto to diversify their portfolio and new people buying it. And the new people are mostly U.S. wealth, right? U.S. wealth is $45 trillion. When I say U.S. wealth, money that is held by registered investment advisors that broadly is owned by baby boomers in America, they are starting to buy. It's a whole lot of money. And so it's that transition that's happening. In the non-Bitcoin space, in Solana and the rest, people are starting to say, okay, now that Novogratz and other people are saying it's time for it to be used and the regulators are allowing it to be used, well, how does it work? And when we got away from the story that we're just important and this is what's going to happen to let me explain how stablecoins process on top of blockchains, the story got a little more unclear. You also had chains like Hyperliquid come out where the token economics are really clear. They take the profits of what they make each day in the exchange and they buy back tokens. So it feels more equity-like. So lots of investors can say, hey, I can get my arms around that, as opposed to this more effusive idea of community, right? What does community mean even? And so we're in this transition, and I think prices are going to go down and up. I was more bullish. I've been here in Abu Dhabi for a few days, and I'm leaving more bullish than I came. And it's because at the Abu Dhabi Finance Week, they literally had a world-class group of investors from this region, but from around the world. And talking to lots of the kings of the industries, I am sure the movement into a future of blockchains and digital assets is accelerating, not decelerating. There's zero doubt in my mind that digital assets are going to be a far more important part of the world in 2 years and 4 years and 6 years. And so that will give our industry fuel. That doesn't mean in the short run, selling pressure, buying pressure is going to hit its equilibrium. And so I think it's more challenging today for me to make a 3-month or a 3-week forecast than normally, right? I see flows on both sides. It's less challenging for me to tell a young kid who's coming to this industry, dude, you're going to have a really cool job in 4 years, right? 8 years ago, when kids came into the industry, I was like, I think this is going to work, but you might spend 4 years and be shit out of luck. And I don't feel that anymore. But that's the disconnect we have right now.
Cool. Okay, so you're optimistic, bullish. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the time. Thanks for listening.
Guys, I owe you all 4 minutes. Thanks.